As a favorite song of mine begins, she came on like a storm. Many young actors have developed strong careers in the last decade plus, but there was something extraordinary about Jennifer Lawrence's run of films and awards between 2010 and 2015. Nobody really knew who Lawrence was as 2009 came to a close, Lawrence's most notable credits being the 2008 film The Burning Plane, and 31 episodes of The Bill Engvall Show. In early 2016, she was a bona fide award-winning movie star, the lead of the blockbuster Hunger Games franchise, Mystique in the latest X-Men films, and she was on her 4th Oscar nomination for Joy. That was a hell of a lot for just 6 years, and I would say the peak of all things Jennifer Lawrence took place between 2012 and 2013. Now sure, she had one stinker in there, The House at the End of the Street, which kind of came and went, but before that was the first installment of the Hunger Games film series, which was released in March 2012 and went on to gross about $700 million worldwide. If that's the only movie Lawrence had made that year, her star status would have kept growing regardless. But then at the end of 2012 came her big Oscar player, the critical darling and awards hit that showed, like Winter's Bone had, just how captivating, a force of nature really, Lawrence could be. Silver Linings Playbook, co-starring Bradley Cooper and directed by David O. Russell, came at the absolute perfect time for Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, let's be honest, The Hunger Games was always going to be a giant hit, no matter who played Katniss Everdeen, but the box office success for Silver Linings Playbook proved that Lawrence could be a draw for audiences and other kinds of projects that didn't exist in the world of Panem. In early 2013, as Silver Linings Playbook surpassed $100 million at the box office, Lawrence was on top of the world, and if there was anything that was going to put a cherry on top of that sundae, it was going to be the Academy Award for Best Actress. In some ways it seemed not like a possibility, but a probability. The way Sandra Bullock coasted to a Best Actress Oscar win in 2010 after enjoying 2 hits the previous year, the summer comedy The Proposal and the fall drama The Blind Side, Lawrence looked to be an immediate frontrunner after proving her worth with critics, audiences, and at the box office with both The Hunger Games and Silver Linings Playbook, but the path to accepting that gold trophy on the Oscar stage wasn't going to be an easy one. At just 22 years old at the time, she was going to be the second youngest winner in the category ever. Would enough voters think she was too young and go with someone else? Someone more seasoned or overdue? Lawrence did have significant competition throughout the 2013 award season, and she did not have that Oscar win in the bag by any means. I mean, she lost at Critics' Choice, and then she lost at BAFTA, which really pissed off her director David O. Russell, and then on Oscars night on February 24th, Silver Linings Playbook kept losing, and losing, and losing some more. Hell, when David O. Russell lost Best Director to Ang Lee for Life of Pi, this time, we didn't even get to see his whiny expression. We got to see Emmanuel Riva instead. Haha! Revenge is sweet. But then, near the end of the ceremony, Jean Dujardin, the previous year's Best Actor winner for The Artist, came on stage, opened the Best Actress envelope, and said this.
Jennifer Lawrence. Silver Linings Playbook.
I can't say this win was entirely unexpected, but a decade later, I still think we possibly got close to a shocker victory in the category from one of 2 other amazing women. Why did Jennifer Lawrence take the Best Actress Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook? And who else do I think had a good chance of overtaking her? My name is Brian ROWE, this is the Awards Contender, and in today's video I'm exploring how Jennifer Lawrence defeated both Jessica Chastain and Emmanuel Riva for the Best Actress Academy Award. Now before we dig into that fascinating race, let's talk a little bit about the ceremony itself. Seth MacFarlane was the host for the 85th Academy Awards on February 24th, 2013, and let's be honest, he was very forgettable. The jokes fell flat, the pre-taped segments were awkward, I wasn't a fan, I think it's obvious why he's never returned as host, and I also wasn't happy at all with the format for his Oscar nominations announcement a few weeks prior, making stupid jokes in between the categories. Don't worry, Emma Stone, it wasn't your fault. On Oscar night, a lot of films shared in trophy wins. This wasn't the year of a sweep, no Everything Everywhere All at Once, no The Silence of the Lambs. 2012 was a banner year for film with so many excellent titles in a variety of genres, and the Academy shared the wealth. Ang Lee's Life of Pi did the best in the tech categories, taking visual effects and cinematography just to name a few, but Les Miserables and Skyfall won some trophies too, Skyfall famously tying in the best sound editing category with Zero Dark 30, and right before she revealed the best film editing winner as Argo, Sandra Bullock did this. Still funnier than anything McFarlane did that entire night. It was exciting to see so many different movies win trophies, with some of the top categories still completely up for grabs. Not all of them, mind you. Daniel Day-Lewis was always winning Best Actor for Lincoln, basically since he had been announced to star in the project. His victory was so obvious, Meryl Streep noticeably doesn't even offer the suspense of opening the envelope.
And the Oscar goes to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Now, I read that she arranged to open the envelope off camera and see the winner's name so she wouldn't have to rip it open in front of everybody. Regardless, despite the inevitability, that moment always feels kind of weird and anticlimactic. Streep also didn't do Day-Lewis any favors by planting a big wet kiss on his cheek, her lipstick on full display throughout his speech. Another foregone conclusion was Anne Hathaway taking the Best Supporting Actress trophy for Les Miserables. Like Day-Lewis, she swept the season, never missing anywhere. To be honest, this isn't one of my favorite acting Oscar wins, mostly because I just don't like that movie. And we all threw up in our mouths a little bit at this remark.
It came true.
But yeah, the win was fine, I guess, and I've enjoyed Hathaway in many projects since. Director and picture were fascinating that year because of the total shocker that occurred on Oscar nominations morning on January 10th. Ben Affleck missed the Best Director cut for Argo. 3 days later at the Golden Globes, Affleck wins Best Director over others who were nominated at the Oscars, like Ang Lee and Steven Spielberg. Then Affleck wins at Critics' Choice, and DGA, and BAFTA. Like, if Affleck had been nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards, he would have won 100%. What a rare oddity this was to have someone sweep the season in a top category that didn't even include his nomination at the Oscars. The fun for us as viewers was in speculating who was going to win Director on February 24th. Spielberg made the most sense in a way. Lincoln nominated all over the place. It was his passion project. The man is adored throughout the industry. But no, the prize went to the great Ang Lee 7 years after his director Oscar win for Brokeback Mountain. I love the little shrug Lee gives when he's announced as the winner for his brilliant Life of Pi, but I didn't love how for the second time in a row, Lee took Best Director for a film that didn't win Best Picture. Strangely, we all knew Argo was taking the big prize, even though it missed that nom in Director, only got one acting nomination, and only took 2 other prizes earlier in the night, editing and adapted screenplay. Kind of like Spotlight 3 years later, Argo collected the bare minimum to qualify for the picture win, and was quite simply the most well-liked across the board of all those nominees. It's a terrific film, one of my favorites of 2012 to be sure, but Affleck not getting into Best Director has always been kind of a stain, I think, on Argo's Academy Awards record. Besides Director, there were 2 top categories that did have some genuine suspense. Best Actress, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and Best Supporting Actor, probably the wildest category of that entire season. Oh my god, Supporting Actor in early 2013 was a chaotic, beautiful mess that only happens here and there and delights us every time. In Best Supporting Actor at the 2013 Golden Globes, Christoph Waltz won for Django Unchained, beating out fellow nominee Leonardo DiCaprio, the more genuine supporting actor in that film. Was Waltz really going to win his second Supporting Actor Oscar in 3 years for another Quentin Tarantino movie? The odds dipped quickly when Philip Seymour Hoffman won in the category for The Master at the Critics' Choice Awards, and then especially when Tommy Lee Jones won for Lincoln at SAG. What the hell was happening? I guess you could argue Waltz's win at BAFTA finally gave some clarity. I mean, that was 2 big televised prizes. However, I would argue anybody but Alan Arkin had a significant shot at victory for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar. Even Robert De Niro, on his first nod in more than 20 years for his turn in the celebrated Silver Linings Playbook. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be Waltz again, who got to win a second Oscar just like his director Quentin Tarantino, who took his second Best Original Screenplay prize for Django Unchained. Alright, that takes us finally to Best Actress, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I love Best Actress. I love it in years when someone sweeps the season, but I really love it when there's a race, when there are 2 or potentially 3 people who could win. In 2013, yep, there were 3, and I don't know about you, but I got my prediction wrong, way wrong. Let's start by discussing the 2 nominees who really were just happy to be there. As I've discussed on the channel before, children being nominated at the Oscars is pretty rare, especially these days, and getting into a lead acting category, even more rare. But Keisha Castle-Hughes managed to get into Best Actress in 2004 for Whale Rider, when she had actually shown up at some other award shows that season in Supporting Actress, and then in the early 2010s along came the amazing Quvenzhané Wallis, who gives a dynamite performance in the runaway smash indie hit Beasts of the Southern Wild, about a 6-year-old girl navigating her way through life in the Louisiana bayou. At just 9 years old, Wallis became the youngest Best Actress Oscar nominee ever. Like they did with Tatum O'Neal long before her, the Academy could have recognized Wallis in the Supporting Actress category just because she was a kid. Thankfully, they made the right choice and put her in lead where she belonged. And wow, what an awesome nomination this is. Certainly one of the best of the decade. Now, did she have a chance to win? No way in hell. Even though her movie overperformed on Oscar nominations morning, not only making it into Best Picture, but also surprising in Best Director, Wallis was just too much of a newbie in a crazily competitive category to ever be a serious threat. But I still think it's super impressive Wallis got in, especially over Oscar winner Marion Cotillard, who got very close to a Best Actress nod for Rust and Bone. She made it into the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and SAG, and you would think given her win for La Vie en Rose, as well as her surprise nod 2 years later for 2 Days, One Night, Cotillard would have gotten in over Wallis, but Rust and Bone just never got much traction that award season outside of the Best Actress category, whereas momentum for Beasts of the Southern Wild hit at just the right time, and Wallis managed her incredible nomination.
Oh, it's 9-year-old Quvenzhané Wallis. You think you can beat me? What you talking about, Wallis? Also, the alphabet called. They want their letters back.
Now, someone who I always thought was a dark horse that season, a potential spoiler with a chance at winning something along the way to Oscar night, was Naomi Watts, nominated for her 2nd Best Actress Academy Award for the absolutely harrowing drama The Impossible, co-starring Ewan McGregor and a young Tom Holland, the film telling of a family of 4 in Thailand who were caught in the destruction of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. After a decade or so of not finding much luck as an actor in Hollywood, Naomi Watts almost quit the business before David Lynch gave her the role of a lifetime in Mulholland Drive, and the rest is history. Mulholland Drive is my 2nd favorite film of all time behind Sunset Boulevard. Yes, I like movies with LA streets in the title, and I still to this day believe Watts not getting an Oscar nomination for her performance in Lynch's masterpiece is one of the Academy's all-time mistakes. Thankfully, she got in 2 years after that for her emotionally devastating performance in 2003's 21 Grams, and then after many years of some highs and some lows, she gave one of her very best performances in The Impossible, a captivating drama that at times took my breath away. She got in at the Golden Globes, and at SAG, and then at the Oscars, and for a short time, mostly because she had been nominated before for 21 Grams, I thought she could be the wild card in the category. It was her 2nd nomination, her movie was amazing, her performance is impressively physical as well as emotional, she'd been in the industry a long time and was worthy of a win. As I'll get into, the big precursor Best Actress trophies were going to different people along the way, and I thought at SAG a massive glorious wrench could be thrown into the system by having Naomi Watts win Best Female Actor in a Leading Role. Then nobody would have known a thing going into Oscar night, but sadly that didn't happen. Naomi Watts didn't win any major prizes that season. The big problem being outside of the Watts performance, the film rarely showed up in other categories. And with so many Best Actress nods in beloved films that were nominated at the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director, yeah, unfortunately, Naomi Watts was out.
If it isn't my friend, Naomi Watts, you were in the impossible. You know what else is impossible? You beating me on Oscar night. Naomi, what's her problem? She gotta lose!
Next up is the person I predicted was going to win Best Actress at the 85th Academy Awards. I was sure of it. Many rightfully thought that Jennifer Lawrence had this in the bag, or that Jessica Chastain was going to swoop in there at the last second and take it, but no. My money was on Emmanuelle Riva being named the victor for her incredible performance in the French drama Amour, about an elderly couple's love being tested when the wife Anne has a stroke.
Je suis là. Tout va bien.
On the night of the Oscars, it was Riva who made sense to me. First, she gives a remarkable turn in Amour, just wise and real and devastating. Second, she was by far the oldest nominee in the group, the oldest person ever nominated for the Best Actress Oscar, and so she was going to receive lots of legacy votes for not only Amour, but for her body of work. Third, Amour overperformed on Oscar nominations morning, getting into Best Picture and Director and Original Screenplay, so clearly there was passion for the movie. Fourth, she was celebrating her 86th birthday that very day at the Oscars, so that coincidence seemed kind of perfect for a beautiful celebratory victory. Fifth, and probably most importantly, Emmanuelle Riva won Best Actress at BAFTA. As we've seen time and time again, a win at BAFTA doesn't necessarily translate to an Oscar victory, but sometimes it does, especially in years when two or more people are in contention for the gold trophy, as we saw with Olivia Colman for The Favorite in 2019 and Frances McDormand for Nomadland in 2021. Riva not being at BAFTA to accept the prize hurt a little bit, I would say. A killer speech would have been fantastic, but still, she had a chance at an Oscar surprise in early 2013, even if she had some major competition in the form of Jessica Chastain and Jennifer Lawrence.
Emmanuelle Riva from Amour, an 85-year-old French lady. Yeah, I think I can take you. You know what I say to your Oscar chances, Emmanuelle Riva? Emmanuelle Riva derci.
Let's discuss Chastain next, who was having a moment around this time in her blossoming career. After many years of struggling in the industry, appearing in some TV and a handful of indie films, she exploded onto the cinema scene in 2011 in a whopping 7 movies, including The Tree of Life and Take Shelter. Her performance in The Help netted her a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination, and then a few months later she hit an incredible box office milestone. The weekend of January 18, 2013, she was the lead actor of the #1 movie in the country, the horror film Mama, and she was the lead actor of the #2 movie in the country, Zero Dark 30, directed by Kathryn Bigelow. After a whirlwind 2011 appearing in tons of projects, this was the moment where Jessica Chastain became a powerhouse dramatic actor / movie star to be taken seriously. Obviously, there were no awards prospects for Mama, but there certainly were for Zero Dark 30, the film a major Oscar contender going into award season. We were all keeping an eye on Zero Dark 30 because it was Kathryn Bigelow's follow-up to The Hurt Locker, which took the Best Picture Academy Award in 2010 and made her the first woman ever to win the Best Director Oscar. Zero Dark 30 was the natural follow-up, a chronicle of the decade-long hunt for Osama bin Laden following September 11th that resulted in his death by Navy SEALs. Chastain plays Maya Lambert, a CIA analyst whose job is finding bin Laden.
And the theory that if bin Laden isn't there, you can sneak away and no one will be the wiser. But bin Laden is there, and you're gonna kill him for me.
Jessica Chastain had done great work in films before, but this was easily her most impressive dramatic performance to date. Zero Dark 30 hanging on her shoulders every step of the way. She leans in heavily to the emotional weight of this character, the obsessive drive to bring bin Laden to justice. And at the beginning of award season, Chastain appeared destined to become the frontrunner for the Best Actress Oscar trophy. First up on January 10th was the Critics' Choice Awards, which gave its Best Actress trophy to Jessica Chastain for Zero Dark 30. She delivered a wonderful speech acknowledging her screenwriter Mark Boal and director Bigelow, I especially loved what she said at the end.
Finally, I would like to thank Maya and the hundreds of unsung heroes, because I'm a little bit of a nerd. In the words of Brecht, unhappy the land that is in need of heroes. Thank you.
And then just 3 days later, Chastain took another big one, probably the televised speech more people saw, when she won Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama at the Golden Globe Awards. It's the beginning of this speech I love.
I've wanted to be an actor since I was a little girl, and I've worked for a really long time. I've auditioned and struggled and fought and been on the sidelines for years. And to be here now in this moment, it's a beautiful feeling to receive this encouragement and support, and thank you so much.
So yeah, 2 big wins, followed by nominations at SAG and BAFTA, and then on Oscar nominations morning, there she was, her second nod in 2 years, her first in the lead actress category. For a hot minute there, it looked like nobody was going to stop her. Even though her movie was kind of floundering in other categories throughout the season, her performance just seemed too good to ignore. And I think if Chastain had won SAG, she would have overcome Emmanuelle Riva's late-stage momentum and taken the gold trophy.
Well, 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 look who it is. Jessica Chastain. More like Jessica Chast ain't winning no Oscar on my watch. In Zero Dark 30, you caught Bin Laden. So what? In Winter's Bone, I caught a squirrel and then I ate it. Boom! Deal with that!
But unfortunately for Jessica Chastain that year, there was one other formidable contender in the Best Actress category. At last, we are back at Lawrence, who, as I said before, had a monumental 2012. First as Katniss Everdeen in the runaway smash hit The Hunger Games, and second as Tiffany Maxwell in David O. Russell's acclaimed comedy drama Silver Linings Playbook, about a former teacher played by Bradley Cooper who moves back in with his parents after a stay in a mental institution and finds a connection with the mysterious Tiffany.
You're a hypocrite. You're a conformist. You're a liar. I opened up to you and you judged me. You're an asshole. You're an asshole. Get off me. Get off. You're harassing me.
Silver Linings Playbook was a huge success story upon its premiere at the Toronto Film Festival in September 2012, winning the coveted People's Choice Award. Reviews were immediately positive, and the film's box office kept growing following its limited release in November and wider release in December, the movie ultimately earning $235 million worldwide, more than 11 times its $20 million budget. Many performances in the film were acclaimed, but Lawrence was absolutely the standout, her role brash and bold, Lawrence's talents for both comedy and drama on full display. Her performance in Silver Linings Playbook was always going to be a major awards player, but why at the end of the day did she ultimately win Best Actress at the 85th Academy Awards? Here are the top 5 reasons. First, while she might have lost Best Actress at Critics' Choice, Jennifer Lawrence picked up a couple key prizes at the precursor ceremonies. First up was Best Actress in a Motion Picture Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes, which was an important first step. This was the classic moment when Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell discussed each of the 5 nominees, pretending not to know who the hell the films or characters were, Tommy Lee Jones memorably not enjoying their humor. This is what they said about Tiffany in Silver Linings Playbook.
And the silver! I thought it was an animated film.
The silver that she's collected. She comes in and she's
says,
like,
you get out of here!
Lawrence did take this one, and she opened her speech with a wonderful nod to one of my favorite movies, The First Wives Club.
Oh, what does it say? I beat Meryl.
Now, one thing happened at the Globes that I need to clarify. During my acceptance speech, I said, I beat Meryl, which is a quote from the movie The First Wives Club, but which some people took as me trash-talking Meryl Streep, which is crazy. I would never trash-talk any of my fellow nominees at the Golden Globes, but the Oscars are another story.
Now, if that's all Lawrence had won throughout the season, I don't think she would have had a chance at the Oscars. The prize she got that swung the odds in her favor was at the Screen Actors Guild Awards on January 27th. This one was key, proving she could beat Jessica Chastain at a major award show, and that actors, the largest voting body in the Academy, were voting for Lawrence. I love what she said about getting her SAG card.
When I was 14, I did an MTV promo for my Super Sweet 16.
And I remember getting it in the mail and it being the best day of my entire life because it officially made me a professional actor, which put me in the category with all of you.
So as we've seen over and over again, especially in the modern era, you can miss at Critics' Choice, you can miss at BAFTA, but you gotta win SAG to have a chance at Oscar. Just ask Michelle Yeoh, who had the exact same trajectory as Jennifer Lawrence this year, only winning at the Golden Globes and SAG before ultimately taking the Academy Award for her performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Second, and oh boy, how much I hope this is the last time I ever have to talk about this man on the channel, Jennifer Lawrence had the disgraced Harvey Weinstein in her corner every step of the way. Just as the man had done a year before with Meryl Streep and the Iron Lady, he did everything in his power to get Lawrence that Oscar, spending millions on advertising campaigns, making sure Lawrence was out there everywhere shaking hands, doing press and Q&As. At the first 3 precursor ceremonies, he's right there, sometimes sitting next to her, and she makes sure to mention him in both of her speeches, these moments not aging well at all. First, at the Golden Globes.
Harvey, thank you for killing whoever you had to kill to get me up here today.
And then second, at SAG.
And Harvey, I mean, it's just, I don't even know what to say anymore. You're a rascal. I've said that. You have nourished the filmmakers who have nourished me, and you've paved a pretty much impossible road for all of us.
As I've said way too many times on the channel, for a couple of decades there, Harvey Weinstein had an insane ability to get his movies nominated for lots and lots of Oscars and see many of his actors win the gold trophy. Such was again the case for Jennifer Lawrence and Silver Linings Playbook. Third, and this is a big reason, Silver Linings Playbook dominated the award season in 2013, showing up in tons of categories at the precursors, and then overperforming on Oscar nominations morning with 8 nods total, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and most impressively, I would say, a nomination in all 4 acting categories. This had not happened at the Academy Awards in 31 years since Reds in early 1982. And you know what? To be perfectly honest, when Jackie Weaver got that shocker supporting actress nomination, I went, uh-oh. Like, the Academy embraced Silver Linings Playbook to the extent of nominating Weaver for her fine but fairly standard performance. Did anyone but Chastain and Zero Dark 30 show up in the acting categories at the Oscars? Or, for that matter, anyone but Riva in Amour? No. Looking back, I don't know why I was so sure that Riva was going to take the Oscar. It was clearly going to be Lawrence. The Academy went all in on Silver Linings Playbook, and I do think this element played a big factor in her victory. Even though the movie didn't win a single other prize that night, there was enough passion for the movie to push Lawrence over the finish line, the same way 6 years later The Favorite received lots of Oscar nominations and then only took 1 gold trophy, Olivia Colman in Best Actress. The more nominations your movie has, the more voters are watching it, considering it, and so 8 nods for Silver Linings Playbook totally worked in Lawrence's favor. The fourth reason, while Silver Linings Playbook kept picking up steam throughout award season, the love for Zero Dark 30 kept fading. After starting off strong at the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards, Zero Dark 30 definitely hit some stumbling blocks, starting with controversies like allegations of partisanship, improper access to classified information, and a pro-torture stance. Mark Boal and Kathryn Bigelow did their best in interviews to temper many of these controversies, but there's no doubt they hurt the film's awards momentum, Amy Poehler delivering this classic Golden Globes joke about it that brought the house down.
Haven't really been following the controversy over Zero Dark 30, but when it comes to torture, I trust the lady who spent 3 years married to James Cameron.
But yeah, Zero Dark 30 missed a SAG Ensemble nomination, and then it underperformed on Oscar nominations morning, most notably Kathryn Bigelow missing in Best Director. By the time Oscar voting came around, there was just clearly more love for Silver Linings Playbook than there was for Zero Dark 30, which ultimately prevented Chastain from winning Best Actress in the end. I mean, again, some might argue Lawrence's biggest competitor there wasn't Chastain at all, but instead Emmanuelle Riva for Amour, since she won BAFTA and her film got in at the Oscars in screenplay and picture and director. Anyone who didn't like Silver Linings Playbook, who might have thought Lawrence was too young for a Best Actress victory, probably gave their vote to Riva. Like, she might have come really, really close to a win, and it would have been a deserved one, but no, it was Jennifer Lawrence's name that Jean Dujardin called as the Best Actress winner at the 85th Academy Awards, in part, I would say, because of the fifth and final reason. Lawrence, as I said before, had a spectacular 2012. If Silver Linings Playbook had been her only film credit of the year, victory might not necessarily have been hers, but I do think the massive critical and box office success of The Hunger Games did play into her Oscar win. Throughout the year, she played two strong, complicated lead female characters in movies people loved, and by early 2013, there just was no stopping her from collecting that gold trophy, even if the walk itself up to the stage came with some difficulties. I adore Lawrence's speech. It's kind of all over the place, but it's also from the heart.
And thank you to the women this year. You were so magnificent and so inspiring, and not just those of you in my category, and it's been so amazing getting to know you, and you've been so nice, and you've made this experience unforgettable.
Her Q&A in the press room moments later is a classic. You have to watch that one in full if you never have.
And then I came to the Oscars. I'm sorry, I did a shot before I... Sorry.
And her run-in with Jack Nicholson later on also never fails to make me laugh.
Is he still here?
I'll be waiting.
Oh my God!
Now you might ask what I personally think about this Best Actress victory. Some people were worried I was going to trash it, say it was terrible. I'm kind of in the middle on this one. It's not great, it's not bad. I'm a huge Jennifer Lawrence fan. I'm happy she has an Oscar win. Silver Linings Playbook is an entertaining film. She's terrific in it. I just prefer pretty much everyone else in the category, especially Emmanuelle Riva and Jessica Chastain. A win, I believe, for either of those performances would have been a glorious all-timer, but Lawrence's victory for Silver Linings Playbook is good too. I'm not going to tear it down. She is an extraordinary talent who gave her all to this amazing part and won the Academy Award.
You guys are just standing up because you feel bad that I fell, and that's really embarrassing, but thank you.
And then, what happened next? Trust me, that night still very much marked the beginning of Jennifer Lawrence at the Oscars. Who would have thought just a year later, not only would Lawrence be back with yet another Oscar nomination, but actually be in contention for a second win, this time in the Best Supporting Actress category. Be real. You knew I was making this one. Jennifer Lawrence versus Lupita Nyong'o, coming your way in 2024. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below who you wanted to win Best Actress at the 85th Academy Awards. Was Jennifer Lawrence the right choice, or would you have chosen someone else? We'll see you next time at the awards contender.